Twitter announced this week that it took down a series of viral tweets after finding out the accounts which posted them were fake. Not only were they bogus, but the two popular accounts in question were made to look as though they were run by black men who recently left the Democratic Party in support of Donald Trump. According to an NBC News report, this may be part of a larger scheme by unknown actors to racially target and mislead black Americans this election season and to dissuade them from voting for Joe Biden. Now, the removal of these accounts is just the latest part of Twitter's efforts to combat misinformation on its platform. And although Twitter has been applauded for the steps it's taken, the broader issue still remains of the systematic targeting of black Americans in an effort to discourage them from voting or to dampen any voter enthusiasm that they might have. With me now to discuss this and the rise of the digital voter suppression is NBC News reporter Ben Collins and Rashad Robinson. He's the president of the Color of Change organization and a spokesperson for Voting While Black PAC. Thanks to both of you. Good to see you both. Ben, let's start with you. What's actually going on Twitter, and what has Twitter done about it?
Sure. So there were two major accounts, I would say. These accounts had 5 different tweets with over 10,000 retweets. That's enormous engagement. And they were posing as black people who had just recently switched from the Democratic Party recently because of Black Lives Matter over to Donald Trump's side. They said they were going to vote for Donald Trump. Now, the problem is these were not real people. One was a stock photo. The other one was a Dutch model who I called, and he was very upset that he was being used in this propaganda campaign. These are not real human beings, but it doesn't matter on Twitter. You can sock puppet your way to fake support. And what we're seeing a lot right now, just like 2016, a lot of artificial messages being pushed by people aligned with the Trump campaign, the people who are pro-Trump generally, pushing these ideas that maybe, it's okay to be a black person who supports Donald Trump, and here's proof from this fake account. It's not just this specific message. The president this morning tweeted 20 different times this one fake polling account, this one fake, it's called Poll Watcher 2020, had 2,000 followers until he jumped on it today. Now it has a lot more than that. So this is a targeted strategy by this campaign.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tweets from this morning, more than 70 tweets now from the president this morning, and the first batch of them are Poll Watch 2020. Now, Rashad, there's two problems here. You are actually a black activist, and you've actually been responsible for a lot of pressure on these social media companies to do better. But BuzzFeed had an article in which it says real black activists worry that the fake ones will drown them out on Twitter. And the quote is from somebody who says, "We don't have bots. We've got real black people," one activist said. The danger of these accusations that Facebook and YouTube latch onto it and tries to undermine our ability to have a black political dialogue. So it's bad that these bots are out there impersonating black people, but it's also potentially bad when they get shut down because real people might get shut down in the process. How do you think this through?
I mean, it's a nightmare scenario because these systems have been set up, the algorithms have been set up to actually get the exact result that we're getting. And so since 2016 and even before, we have been raising these issues for both Twitter and Facebook. And then when these issues come up, we're the ones that have to go there and highlight it and point out the problems, raise these issues. The shooter in Wisconsin, the group that he was part of was flagged over 400 times and nothing was done. These are not sort of mistakes that, as Mark Zuckerberg would like to say, these are like deep problems that are baked into the platform. And it's also part of just the incentive structures of how these platforms are set up because we don't have real rules of the road and regulations. We would have a lot of poisoned food on our shelves in our grocery stores if we didn't have infrastructure that held companies accountable. But what ends up happening is that we get this poisoned messaging. We get sort of messaging that comes from fake people or messaging that incites violence. And then all the companies do is they say, we're working really hard. We're trying. Judge us by sort of our efforts. And then at the end of the day, we have to look at the results. If the results were a lot of food that was poisoning us, we wouldn't care how hard the companies were working. We would just care that we were being poisoned. Right. And so our politicians, our leaders, and these companies have to do more. And these companies have to be held to a higher standard.
So So let me ask you about what effect this has, because recent polling, NBC Wall Street Journal polling, indicates that the support for Joe Biden amongst African Americans is almost exactly what it was for Hillary Clinton. It was 89% for her, 88% for Biden. Donald Trump has seen no growth despite his Blacks for Trump organization at 8%. But the issue isn't that most blacks support the Democratic candidate. The social media stuff affects turnout and enthusiasm.
Absolutely. I mean, this is all about turnout enthusiasm. And when you can sort of cut at, pieces of the population in states like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, you can do targeting messaging that hits at certain communities. You can create doubt and sow doubt through bots and through other means where you can put lots of money behind this attention. This is one of the reasons why we started the Stop Hate for Profit campaign. This is one of the reasons why many civil rights organizations like Color of Change and the NAACP and the Leadership Conference for Civil Rights and others have been fighting and pushing on these platforms for years. We've put forward policies after policies for them to adopt. Facebook did a civil rights audit that walked through all of the problems on the platform, all of the ways. It was their audit, and they still have not implemented the vast majority of the things that were called out. And even when they implement things, they then don't enforce it when it comes to Donald Trump, or even in the case of Wisconsin, where they weren't flagging things that should have violated the four corners of their policy. And then we see these sort of billionaires get on TV and tell us that they're really sorry. And so I think like we are in this huge moment where we are seeing NBA players speak out. We are seeing WNBA players and athletes speak out. We're seeing so many people speak out. I say to the people who work at those social media platforms, what will you say to yourself 5, 10, 15 years from now if you continue to make these billionaires money and you did nothing to stand up for justice? If you continue to go to work every day and did not do the work to stand up against the very real attacks, how many more of us have to be hurt, killed? How many more of us have to have our rights taken away before we stand up and actually put safety, integrity, and security over growth and profit? It can't just be about how much money you make. It has to be about what you do for the rest of this country.
Ben Collins, I got 30 seconds, but when I see 68 tweets before 8 o'clock in the morning from the president, my first instinct is to ask you what you make of this.
Look, he has a message to get out there this morning, specifically about Portland. The worry for years and years was that these white militias and people on the left would start fighting in these pop-up civil wars throughout the country. And you know who that benefits, and the president knows who that benefits. So he has to get some messages out there about polling, and he has to get some messages out there about what he considers to be law and order. It's exactly what he's doing this morning. And again, they might not be the accounts of genuine people. We don't know that, in part because they're masked identity. So that's what I would take from this, is just really think twice before you assume that somebody's real, even and maybe especially if the president's tweeting it.
Yeah, and one of these days, you and I will just have a conversation that we've had in person many times, but we should have on TV, about the fact that you can actually do some fairly easy things to figure out whether a post is real or a person tweeting it or somebody on Facebook. For some of us, that can be done. So we should at least learn those skills. Thanks to both of you. Ben Collins, NBC News digital reporter. Rashad Robinson is the president of Color of Change.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.